with the Popo Backyard Farm. Today I want to talk to you guys a little bit about bird watching. What brought this to mind was, see this pheasant cage we made? I noticed the wild birds were coming in here and I thought, wow, this would be a beautiful bird feeder or habitat. And I know I used to feed the birds all the time in one of my other houses. I used to buy a huge thing of bird feed, and I had all kinds of birds because of it. And I never let it go empty, so that ensured that they came. I actually stopped feeding them one night when I had some raccoons tap on my window, and I got worried they would get in that house. So at that point I figured I better slow down on my bird feeding. And there was even a time I was concerned that I had a bear at that house. I went to the local farm store and told them about some scat I found in my yard, and it was pretty big, and I was worried I had a bear. So that kind of made me want to stop feeding the birds at that place. But that's probably an unusual story. It was just probably the location. But today we're going to talk about the American robin. And it's a bird that I love. It's a songbird. It migrates north to south, and usually up here in New York we think of it as a spring bird, the first sign of spring. I haven't seen that many robins lately. They're probably migrating because the weather's changing. Perhaps you guys can let me know if that's so. But the birds do fly in and out of here, the wild birds, but not that much. But I suppose if we fed them the things that they like, it could be a lot more. I'm not sure. I know they visit my chickens some too. But the American robin is the state bird of 3 states: Connecticut, Wisconsin, and Michigan. And they don't live as long as I thought they did. They only live about a year and a half. But the oldest robin that they found in the wild has lived up to 14 years. Some people have actually tamed robin to be like a little pet. And if you would ever want to, say, have your birds outside hand feed from you, there's some tricks that you can do. You can either sit outside for hours with your hand out near the feeder, or you could make a dummy of yourself and just put it next to the feeder with its hand extended like this. You can see it with feet on it. Some people put their hand out and then they get close to the feeder and move further and further away, and so that the birds come. And I'm sure it all depends on the personality of the bird. Now, the robin, I have heard, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is the largest thrush bird, if I'm saying it correctly, in North America. And now some people have felt that it was associated a lot with the blackbird, but it was just called a robin. Like in other places, years ago, they called a lot of birds a robin. It was almost like a pet name for different types of birds. And so that's an interesting thing. The American robin originally started in the forest, but as people mowed their lawns, they liked to eat the worms. So they started going into lawns more, and a lot of times the robin will eat worms in the morning, which there's like 25 worms to each square foot of soil. So they'll eat like worms in the morning, and as the day progresses, they will eat berries, which is pretty interesting, I thought. And sometimes, like in the winter, they'll probably eat more berries and that types of things. Now, when a robin roosts, they can go to spots where there's thousands of robins, which I would love to see that. And there's hardly a habitat or a place that they won't nest. They're pretty much all over the United States. And they will usually come back to the same nest year after year, but they don't bring and nest with the same mate year after year. But whoever they mate with, they will mate with that particular robin for that entire season. And they usually like to eat fruits, berries, insects, and that type of thing. So if you want to attract robins to your area, you might want to plant some berry trees and just, have a nice short lawn so they can get to those worms that they're looking for. And when they're looking for the worms, they don't hear the worm. It looks like they're listening, but that's not what they're doing. They're actually tilting their heads so they can see the different types of worms. And that's how they get the worms, is they're tilting their head, looking on the ground for the worms through their eyeballs, not through their hearing. And believe it or not, one of the favorite treats for mosquitoes are robins. Robins and mosquitoes must not be good friends, because the mosquito likes to, attack the robin as far as stinging it and stuff. And there have been robins that have lived despite stuff like West Nile virus and things like that, and they build up an immunity to them. So it's pretty neat to learn about the different kinds of birds out there that you can bring to your feeder. And I know, like I said, I like the robin. I love their song. They're pretty cool. I think they're so pretty. I love them in the spring to watch them. They like bounce through my yard. And I love to feed the birds. We have so many birds that come and visit our regular birds that, not too many, but an occasional one, that we've debated whether or not we should feed the birds, because we thought it might just be too tempting for them to be all the time eating from our regular birds' feed. But we do have little grapes they like. They love the mulberry tree over there. I don't know if you can see it too good. It's over there, way over there. And sometimes when I'm picking my mulberries, I'll have a robin up there yelling at me in the spring and in the early summer, because they don't like it that I'm near their nest. But I have little things that they can eat, little berries. So I'm sure that they have, feasted on them. I don't know if you saw my video on the mountain ash, but I'm sure that they would love those berries as well. But, right now, it's September. We're noticing the birds are starting to gather together to go to the fall migration. We're seeing them move around. We see them starting to gather. You'll see, if you look around and you're observant, you'll see a lot of things in nature that you might never have known. I know my husband always says, look at the maple leaves, they turn up when they want rain. But we've noticed that the birds are starting to gather up here in upstate New York. Slowly, you'll have one bird, then you have 2 or 3 or 4. They're all starting to gang together for their flight south. So it's pretty neat. So anyway, when it becomes spring, start looking for the robins. If you have any robin stories, anything you know about robins that I didn't share in this video, please tell me below. And I'm sure all the other listeners would be interested in knowing. And if you have ever hand-tamed a robin, if you are one of those lucky people that have seen thousands of robins migrate in one spot, let me know. Okay, guys, like, subscribe. This is Ruthie Popel with the Popel Backyard Farm, talking to you today about the American robin. God bless.